Christmas is just around the corner, and while most of us are wrapping presents and decorating the tree, there are some Christmas stories that are too terrifying to ignore. Tonight, I have 5 bone-chilling Christmas horror stories that are absolutely true. These aren't just ghost stories or urban legends. These are real, terrifying events that happened on Christmas or right around the holiday season. So sit back, dim the lights, and get ready for a ride that will keep you awake long after the last ornament is hung. Let's dive in. Our first story takes us to a quiet suburban neighborhood in Ohio on Christmas Eve 2009. It was a chilly night, cold enough to freeze the tips of your fingers, yet calm. The Johnson family had just finished a late Christmas dinner and was settling in for a cozy evening of hot cocoa and holiday movies. But as midnight approached, something strange began happening. At exactly 11:52 p.m., the Johnsons heard a loud bang at their front door. They assumed it was a knock from a neighbor, but when they opened it, no one was there. They brushed it off as a prank. But as they went back to their living room, they noticed something unsettling. A shadow moved past the frosted window near their front door. Someone was out there. They peeked out through the blinds, only to see a tall figure standing motionless on their front lawn. It wasn't moving. It wasn't even blinking. The snow was still, the streetlights flickered, but the figure remained unmoving. The family called the police, but by the time they arrived, the figure had vanished, leaving behind nothing but cold, empty footprints in the snow. No one had seen anything but the thing that still haunts the Johnson family to this day. The footprints were heading straight for their back door. They moved out of that house the following year. No one knows who or what that figure was. But every Christmas Eve since, they've heard faint knocks at their door. And every year, they wonder, was it the same man or something else entirely? Now let's travel to Dallas, Texas, on Christmas morning, 1983. The Sanders family had just moved into a charming old house, excited to celebrate their very first Christmas in this new home. The decorations were perfect. The Christmas tree adorned with sparkling lights and colorful ornaments. But what was supposed to be a joyful occasion quickly turned into something horrifying. The first sign that something wasn't right came when the family's cat started acting strange. It wouldn't go near the tree. In fact, it hissed and bolted from the room whenever anyone got close. Then, as night fell and the family gathered around the fire, the ornaments on the tree started to shake. At first, they thought it was just the heating vent or the wind. But soon, they realized that no breeze was present. Then, one by one, the ornaments began to fall off the tree, as if being pulled by invisible hands. Terrified, they decided to check the attic. When they opened the door, they found something truly chilling: a collection of old Christmas cards, each one addressed to the family who had lived there before. But the strangest part? They had been there for years, and the cards weren't even signed. Just a message that read, "Merry Christmas, I've been watching you." That night, the family found a small handwritten note under the tree. "You're not alone." The Sanders family never spent another Christmas in that house. They moved away, but the whispers and strange occurrences followed them. To this day, no one knows who or what was watching them that Christmas. Our third story is one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries surrounding Christmas. In a remote part of Massachusetts, on December 25th, 1920, the Hamilton family was found dead in their cabin, just days after Christmas. The scene was shocking. The tree was still up, stockings hung by the fireplace, and presents under the tree, all untouched. But the family was gone. The only clue was a cryptic note that read, "You'll never have another Christmas." The authorities were baffled. There were no signs of forced entry, no robbery. Nothing seemed amiss except for the note. The family had been poisoned, and while there were suspicions of who could be responsible, there was no concrete evidence. The case went cold. What's even more disturbing is that a local historian uncovered a hidden letter in the family's personal belongings. It detailed a feud with a neighbor who had once lived in that very cabin and was rumored to have died under mysterious circumstances years earlier. But what was this neighbor's involvement? Did they return to take revenge on the Hamiltons? Or was there something darker at play? The Hamilton family's cabin still stands, abandoned to this day. Some say it's cursed. People who have dared to visit on Christmas have reported strange sounds, whispers, footsteps, and sometimes a faint glimpse of shadows moving in the windows. But no one dares stay for long. Our next story takes us across the pond to London, England, on Christmas night, 1965. A young couple, the Williams, had just moved into an old Victorian home in one of London's quieter neighborhoods. They were excited to spend their first Christmas in this beautiful, historic house. But on Christmas night, something disturbing happened. As the clock struck midnight, the couple heard faint giggling coming from upstairs. At first, they assumed it was a neighbor's child, but when they went upstairs to investigate, they found no one. The giggling continued, echoing throughout the house, as if coming from the walls themselves. They searched high and low, but nothing was found. Then they discovered an old portrait hanging on the wall of the nursery. The picture depicted a young girl with sad, hollow eyes. A girl who looked disturbingly familiar to the one they had heard laughing earlier. The child had lived in the house many years ago, but died mysteriously in the house at the age of 5. The couple left the house shortly after, but rumors have swirled that the child's spirit still lingers, laughing and watching, forever tied to the place she once called home. Our final story is perhaps the most unsettling of them all. On Christmas Eve, 2016, the Thompson family in Chicago was getting ready to host relatives. But when the clock struck midnight, things took a dark turn. The family heard faint knocks on the door. They opened it, expecting a last-minute guest or a holiday delivery. But no one was there. Just as they closed the door, they heard footsteps upstairs, then furniture shifting in the living room. When they investigated, they found their television had been turned on, the volume blasting. Yet no one had touched the remote. Panic set in when they found a strange, handwritten note on the living room table. "I'm watching you." The family locked all the doors, but when the police arrived, they found the house had been broken into, not violently, but in a way that seemed deliberate and calculated. The intruder had left no trace behind, except for one chilling detail. A hidden camera, set up in the living room, pointed directly at the family's Christmas tree. The Thompsons never found out who the intruder was. But one thing was clear: they were being watched.